When I was attacked in 1963, I tried to find some books on what I could learn about them, to find out if they were these crazy man-eaters there, that they were, you shouldn't go back in the water. Alf Dean, the world record holder for game fishing, said to me, if you had seen what I'd seen, you would never go back in. You'd hang up your gear and play golf. And I wanted to go diving. I thought it was the most wonderful sport. Every little nook and cranny you looked in was new, was pretty. There was wonderful gardens under the sea. The fish life were colourful. But of course there were the sharks. And I bought every book I could. Most of them were on game fishing. Very, very little was known. So I actually, at the zoo, when my wife and I, just after we were married, took my niece, and I was looking at the lion's cage, and I thought, they're predators and they're behind bars. Maybe I can make a cage, reverse the role, I'll get in the cage and I'll lower it into the sea and I'll have a look at these sharks to see whether or not they're as dangerous or crazy, or whether I should give up diving.
So does that mean that you are in fact the pioneer of cage diving?
Absolutely, yes. It all started from my shark attack and me wanting to go back in the water.
There's a lot of regulations behind ecotourism nowadays. What about back when you started? Was it a free-for-all? You do whatever it was that you came up with?
There was no regulations in those days at all. The sharks were not protected, and on our first expedition ever, Alf Dean, the world record holder for game fish, with the idea that the best shark's a dead shark that's pushed forward by newspapers, we went out and he caught 5 great white sharks in a week. And it was only at the end of that trip, on about the 8th or 9th day, that I said to him, well, we've got all these sharks here, it's been a very successful trip, what are we going to do with them now? And he said, well, you guys can cut out a jaw each and we'll dump them over the side. And then I looked at the sharks and I thought, that was a pretty wasteful thing to do. We know so little about them, and they didn't seem very hard to catch. Each one only took a half an hour or so. And so it started me thinking, at that particular time, I wanted to learn more and find out more about great whites.
Is that a popular misconception, that white sharks are so powerful and dangerous that they're nearly impossible to catch, but in reality they're fairly easy to catch?
I think if most people believe that it's quite true, because each of those sharks wore out fairly quickly. And of course, in those particular days, I thought Alf Dean actually had a rod and reel that was worth many thousands of dollars. It was a year's wages. They had a huge boat with a 400 horsepower motor and this great big hook with a chain and stainless steel on it. And I didn't think that that was pretty fair. I remember thinking at the time, maybe it'd be more fair if you jumped over the side with a knife in your mouth like Tarzan. You might be a fair thing, a fair fight. Not that I wanted to fight a shark at that time, but I think with the right equipment you can catch those sharks pretty easy.
But this concept of fair, I appreciate that. I appreciate that you want to give the animal a sporting chance. But there's the other type of person who just feels that everything on this earth is for ours to do with as we please. And you've probably encountered those sorts of people. What's the best reaction you can give to that sort of mentality?
I think people think humans themselves aren't gods. I think that's probably the best way to say it. Humans aren't something that have to be protected. There's a lot of us and we're overrunning the country. We're eating too many fish. We're taking over areas that we shouldn't take over. And I really think that in the ocean there's a different world, there are different laws, and we have to respect those and change our attitudes when we go in the sea.